Hello friend. Today I want to talk with you about the childhood trauma of emotional neglect. So when we look at trauma, what we're really talking about is stress. We're talking about a lot of stress, high levels of stress, and they get to a certain level where those life experiences are so stressful, they tip over into what we call trauma. And the key issue with trauma is that we haven't been able to process the life experience. We haven't been able to digest it, make sense of it, release the emotions, process it in our mind, deal with it through the body. And so when we're talking about trauma, we're really talking about very high levels of stress that have got jammed up inside our system. And so the obvious sort of traumas, if we're talking about childhood stuff, okay, if there's been obvious abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, serious, dramatic, horrible, obviously terrible kind of abuse or, challenging experiences, it's a bit more obvious, isn't it, that, okay, these things are very difficult, they're extreme, they're going to be really impossible for a child to handle, and there's going to be a lot of work to sort of process that later on if it hasn't been dealt with at the time. And so those sort of more dramatic versions of childhood trauma are a bit more obvious, a bit more known, a bit more familiar. But let's talk about emotional neglect. This is like the hidden trauma that comes up with so many clients. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people over the years, almost 30 years now. And when I include also my own childhood trauma, what has become more and more apparent over time is how much of the work is actually clearing unresolved emotional neglect. So let's have a look at that. Think about it. Abandonment, neglect, rejection, being ignored. This is really so stressful for a child. One of my therapists many years ago said that the most frightening thing, the most stressful thing for a child is to be abandoned. And that's because if a child's physically abandoned, a young child, if they're physically left somewhere abandoned, out in the bush, whatever, the most likely outcome will be death. And so we're very wired on a primitive level to not be neglected, not be abandoned. It's such a significant thing. I think we just know on a primitive level that to be part of a group, to be accepted, to be protected is a survival imperative. And without that, of course, we go to stress, we go to fear. So you think about it, physical stress, physical abandonment. Think about the kid who's lost their parent in the shopping centre and there's such a painful cry until they're found again. Well, if that physical abandonment, if that physical isolation can cause that much stress in a child just in a matter of minutes, well, think what a whole childhood, a whole 15, 16 years of emotional abandonment would do. And this is what we're unpacking here today. We're talking about the trauma of emotional neglect. We're talking about the complex post-traumatic stress disorder that is so often caused by emotional neglect. And why this is so significant is it's such a hidden one, isn't it? It's not one of the more obvious dramatic versions of trauma. So what often happens is a child is growing up in a family where the physical might be okay. There might be a secure roof over the head, clothes, food on the table. The physical material aspects might be very good. And so we're not necessarily talking about a physical abandonment. We're not talking about a physical rejection and the stress that comes with that. But let's say one or both parents, primary caregivers, have significant wounding, significant blocks, significant shadow material unresolved from their childhood. Let's say they're suffering from mental, emotional, physical illness. Let's say that, mum or dad is a real mess. And so despite their best intentions, and most parents have good intentions, most, not all, but most parents, let's put it at 98% of parents really do have very good intentions. They genuinely love the child on a deep level and do have deep down a good intention somewhere. Maybe the first time they held the child, oh, I want to do the right thing by this child. You know, it's hard not to find that somewhere. But if that person's wounded, we don't have to go hardcore wounded, abusive here. Let's go just in that middle range where someone, a parent, the adult, has got their unresolved issues from their childhood. They haven't dealt with it. They brought a child into the world. They've got good intentions, but those intentions are blocked and thwarted by their unresolved wounding. Let's say they had physically, emotionally, psychologically absent parents. So whatever's behind it for the parents. So we've got a child coming into the life, coming into the family, coming into the world, needing connection, needing attunement, needing good empathic understanding, needing at least one person who really sees them, hears them, gets them, understands them, really is capable of being a mature, healthy, loving adult and really bring that quality of connection to the child, so he or she feels just seen, heard, understood. There's empathy there. Attunement's a great word. I love that word, attunement. You know, an adult attuned into the child and what he or she is thinking and feeling and needing. If that is there, of course, the child feels secure, safe, confident, loved. Oh, I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm loved, I'm valued, I'm safe. I'm not going to be rejected, I'm not going to be abandoned, everything's okay, I must be okay. I can feel confident about my life, I can feel confident about myself because mum and or dad loves me. But when that's not there, or that's not there enough, it's not there at an adequate level, we don't need perfect, we don't need 100%, but we hope for adequate, good enough, which is in that 70-80% category. When there's not adequate, when we're below 70%, 60-50, I'm often working with people who are lucky to be getting 20, 10%, you know, sometimes we're just dealing in the negative, you know. But if we're not getting enough, what that means is that, okay, the child's not getting enough of the emotional attunement, the engagement, the presence, the connection, you know, mum and dad just not there enough. A very common scenario is where, you know, dad's away working a lot, so he's physically absent. When he's there, it might be good quality connection, but he's not there much, or he's not there enough. You know, not having to go, these are old gender roles, but, you know, often it's the father who's away, and the mother might be there, but let's say the mother's not emotionally present. She's so buried under her unresolved issues. She hasn't done her therapy. Mum and dad haven't done their therapy. So if she's not adequately present there for you, for the child, my friend, if your parent, your primary caregiver or givers weren't adequately attuned to you in that sort of emotional, psychological, spiritual kind of way, they might be physically present all the time. They're always around. But if they don't see, if they don't understand, if they don't ask you, oh, how was your day? What happened at school? Oh, tell me about this drawing you just did. Oh, you seem upset. What's going on? Oh, would you like to do that? If there is this lack of parent capable of being tuned in, then the child is in a constant state of stress. The child is not reassured. The child hasn't got that connection to make him or her feel safe, secure, loved, you know, all those things I named before. Well, that's all missing, isn't it? And so the child is in a constant state of stress. We're not just talking about a scary moment, being lost in the supermarket. No, we're talking about year after year of stress. And so it doesn't take much imagination or remembering, perhaps, from your own personal experience, my friend, of how traumatizing this can be for a child. That emotional neglect, that psychological lack of attention, lack of quality connection, the child never has that feeling of safety, security, confidence, because, they're always needing more. They're always looking for that. They're always yearning for that unmet need. It's a basic psychological need. Even in animals, it's a basic need in more developed animals to have connection, contact, quality of connection there. So when that isn't there, the deficit of that, the lack of that, the inadequacy of that connection equals a very profound trauma. And it creates what we call a complex post-traumatic stress because it's so young and it's so persistent and it gets very complex because it's interacting with so many other issues for the child. Now, maybe next time we can talk about the effects of that and how different children will respond to that in different ways. Let's save that for the next long video. But I would like to do something practical about this. Let's do some inner work to help with this. So may I assume that for you there was something of that in your own experience. And so there's a part of you, the child in you is still in lack. There's a gap, there's a missing thing here. There's that sort of emptiness. There'll be that longing, there'll be that hope, that yearning still for connection. And of course that can be so reinforced that it's a pattern that's playing very strongly, even though we might be well into adulthood. It's something so ingrained in the subconscious mind-body that it operates very strongly as this unmet need. Well, let's do some inner work to help with this. So I want you to just drop your awareness within now. You don't have to close your eyes, but it can be helpful to close the eyes. And just take some nice, long, deep, easy breaths. Just slowing down the breathing, just supporting yourself and moving your awareness within. Just notice the support of the chair, the seat, the sofa, whatever's supporting your body right now. Just take a moment to bring your awareness deeper within. And what if you were to invite forward the inner child? Get a sense of them. However he, she turns up is perfect. It might be you're quite visual and you actually can see the child. Sometimes that's based on a photo. Sometimes we get like a portal, an image, a photo of something that's a portal to connect to the child. Sometimes we just feel an emotion, happy, sad, whatever it might be. Sometimes we just get a sense of them turning up in the body. It might be a strong sensation, it might be a pain, it might be an empty place, it might be hot, it might be cold. So however your inner child turns up is perfect. Sensing them in the body, the feelings, the emotion, in the mind, just welcoming them forward. Thank them for coming forward. However they turn up is perfect. And even if you've just got the faintest whisper of a sense of your inner child, what if you, as the greater you, the adult you, were now to send a message to them? You can use my words as yours. Just say to your inner child, guess what? Childhood's over. We got through it. We did it. We survived. You survived. That's how strong you are, how courageous you are. Thank goodness it's over now. Never going to have to go through that again. And we're not a child anymore, so we're not dependent on mum and dad anymore. We're not dependent on others. We're not needing others to look after us anymore, to meet those needs. Because we've grown up. We're not dependent anymore. We're a fully fledged adult, and I'm here now to be the good parent to you. I'm here now to give you what you missed out on. I'm going to share all my love, my strengths, my resources with you, my wisdom, everything we've developed over the years. Well, I'm going to be the good parent to you now, the good parent, and share all of this with you now just because I can. We're that powerful now. I'm here for you now to give you all the attunement, the connection, the loving attention, the care, the empathy, the curiosity, the engagement, the fun, the laughter, the understanding, the support, the comfort. Everything you've been crying out for, everything you've been longing for. Well, I'm here now to fill up all those empty places until they're overflowing. And there's nothing you could do that would make me leave you. Nothing you could do would make me stop loving you. And just breathe into that. Just notice how your inner child is responding. Just notice how that feels. What's that like as the adult you to realize that you can change what's here deep in your psychology. And so somehow you embrace the inner child, give them a big hug, just feel them merging back inside. Just notice how they're feeling, how they settle inside compared to before. Same or different somehow. All parts of self, whole, integrated, merged into the oneness that you are, that you gently now bring your awareness back into the space, just opening your eyes gently when you're ready, coming back into full waking consciousness. Just notice how you're feeling, just taking a deep breath. Yeah, so well done. This is very key in deep psychotherapy. I call it reparenting. Reparenting. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found this powerful. It's a powerful process you've just done. And I'd invite you to repeat it. You can listen to the section of this video again, or do it just under your own steam. It can help to have the support initially as you get used to it, if you haven't done it before. But it's a great thing to do on a daily basis. Imagine doing that every day for a month. How's your inner child going to feel compared to before? So play with that. Reach out with any questions, any feedback, comments. I'm here for you. Please subscribe to my free newsletter. Follow me on YouTube or Instagram or wherever, Facebook or whatever you like to follow. Any questions. And of course, for deeper work, that's my passion. That's what I do. I turn up every week for a number of people and serve in helping them to bring love and attention to these emotionally neglected parts of us, traumatized parts. So if you're feeling the need for some personal one-on-one process work, absolutely feel free to get in touch. I'd be privileged to help you on your healing journey.